Really proud of our guys. A couple guys in particular, and that one of them being Jair, who obviously I chose not to play last game. And, I thought he needed to take a deep breath, take a step back, and come at it better. And give him credit. He handled it like a champ. And obviously, we don't win without his efforts today. Not just shot making, but his playmaking and against their team, which is difficult to play against because of the full court, the three-quarter court press. Doesn't allow you to play in structure. Makes you play in space and makes your players make decisions. And I thought for the most part we made pretty good decisions. But and the other one being AJ, who he can go in a shell, and he's such a young kid, and he hasn't. And he obviously came out and made those, I think, 3 in a row, if I'm not mistaken, that popped the game open. So real proud of our guys.
Any questions for Jair?
Jair, how big were those 2 threes in a row you hit right after they took that brief lead in the second half?
I think they were big. I think we hit a lot of big shots. Just being able to continue our momentum, and when they're kind of coming back, to be able to hit shots and get stops. I think anytime we can do that is big.
With the way that their defense works and kind of allowing the three-point shot sometimes, or at least allowing a somewhat contested three. How important do you feel like that if you can hit threes like y'all were able to do, that there's much of an answer in the way that their defense is structured?
There's much of an answer.
An answer for them defensively with how their defense is structured. If you can hit as many threes as y'all do.
They play good defense. It's a scheme that we were practicing against, and coach prepared us for. So obviously hitting shots against any defense is going to help you win games. But their defense in particular, we practiced at it. We knew they were going to kind of plug the gaps in the paint and just making them extra passes and playing unselfishly.
Having not played against Kentucky, coming into this game, what does it mean to play 33 minutes and helping your team with a lot of players in foul trouble throughout the game?
It feels good. We got a team mentality. We know from one game to the next game we got a lot of talented guys on the team that can play well and step up. Whenever coach calls my number, being ready, and for all the guys, we have that mentality. Whenever coach calls your number, just being ready to play.
Anything else for Jair? Thanks, Jair. Questions for Coach?
Thank you.
I used to see these stat sheets a lot better this year.
Coach, your team shot better from 3 tonight than on the floor in general. How do you feel like spacing in terms of responding to the press? How do you think that helped you guys in terms of just getting open shots from deep?
Yeah, we it's not just their press. The press creates confusion, and then they flow into a matchup kind of zone. So you really can't make your typical cuts or screens how they defend. So on a quick turnaround, because Kentucky game was really hard, so we're limited on what we can do in practice on Thursday. And then yesterday we ramped it up a little bit. The guys were great in understanding of what we were trying to do once we got behind the press. We could never, Boz is not going to let us get the ball inside the press and attack it. I think we got 2 or 3 baskets during the course of the game from that. Most of the time is you can't be overly aggressive because they're long, athletic. They can Buzz has these guys playing now, and so you got to be careful. And then when you kind of play offense, you can't run a set because you don't have time left to run a set. And if they take that first hit, now you're stuck with nothing. So what we talked about doing, I thought our guys were really, as much as I've been frustrated with our lack of maturity on our team, I thought maturity was real good in the way we prepared for the game today, which allowed us to get those shots.
Talking about the fouling that your team, how do you feel like the team responded, especially on the bench with,
What do you mean?
I know AJ Lawson got into foul trouble early in the game, and so he only played 16 minutes. Talk about like your team's bench in terms of just stepping up with.
Yeah, we're missing 3 guys today. We're missing 3 guys, and all our rotation players, and TJ Moss, Trey Hannibal, and then Keyshawn gets hit in the head early in the game, and we don't know what his situation is. So that's why I played a lot more zone than I probably am used to playing. I had to protect some of the guys that just couldn't afford to pick up a hand check or try to rotate, take a charge, and we were pretty good in the zone. Zone really helped us today. That's one of the reasons why we play a little bit more zone. And but the bench, every one of them, Jalen McCreary, Wilders Levesque gave us some great minutes. He don't look good in the stat sheet, but he gave us a presence in the time of the game where Nebo was kicking our tail. And he gave us size and just physicality at the rim to try to offset that a little bit. Jalen helped us. Alonzo Frink had a sequence there where we got, 5 offensive rebounds in 1 possession, then he finally scores the ball. He fought for the ball, and so we don't win without the bench today.
I wanted to ask you about that hustle play where you get 5 straight offensive rebounds, and Jermaine ends it, I think, with a 3. Could you just kind of speak to the hustle at that point? I think about 7 minutes were left.
Yeah, it was back-to-back plays. We had that one where we make the 3, and then the next one down, it's the same situation. Alonzo Frank finally makes a layup. And I think those 2 plays resemble, not the right word, exemplifies why I'm excited about our basketball team. The capabilities that we have. We're rebound. I love rebounding. When you're a bad player, that's all you can do, then that's all you want to coach, is what you were halfway decent at. We're becoming a good rebounding team. We weren't that back in November, and we've been subpar for what I like the last 2 years. We're becoming a lot more physical with our rebounding. And I thought those 2 plays I don't want to say broke the camel's back, but created a sense of, for them, and yes, for us, so late in the game that then we came down bang, bang, and it kind of separated the game.
Coach, you kind of alluded to it earlier, but how much different is this version of A&M with Buzz running the show than it was to some of the previous A&M teams last few years?
Yeah, that's a hard question for me to answer because both guys are my friends. BK and I have been friends for a long time, and Buzz become like a brother to me. So it's hard to compliment Buzz because it kind of kicks BK a little bit, and I don't think that's fair. Your question's fair. I don't know if it's fair for me to do that, but I will say this. Obviously, there's a coaching change, and anytime there's a coaching change, you got players that played a certain way and are being asked to play differently. I'm a big believer in don't judge the product in totality based on record. I'm a big believer on who they were in November, who they are now. It's 2 different teams. I don't usually watch film in November, but when I started watching their last 3 games, I said they're playing good. And he's got those guys going and playing together on offense and defense. So I went and watched an old game. I can't remember who I watched. It was actually down in Orlando, whoever the first game was.
Harvard.
That's the one I watched. And it's day and night. It's day and night, the difference on how they're playing. And here's the good news for Texas A&M folks. It ain't changing. Tony will keep getting better. That's who he is. I struggle with wins when I coach against people that are like family to me. Because I know what he's feeling right now. And I know how hard he pushes those guys, so I know where they're at in that locker room right now. But they've got a lot. I told every one of their players, they got a lot to be proud of, man. They're working their tails off. They're going to make this school real proud.
Frank, you hit a bunch of shots, but you also shared it well, 22 assists on 29 makes. How pleased were you with just the flow of it, the way you would share it?
Here's what's crazy. If you were to ask me back in October, early November, Frank, what do you think some of your weaknesses are going to be? Shooting would never have been one. And then the season hit, and we couldn't make a shot to save our lives. And we've lost games where we had point-blank shots, and we just couldn't make them. And we lost to Tennessee last week, and we had similar plays to the ones you were talking about, and back-to-back, and we just couldn't score. We missed a layup, we missed the threes. I think as a coach and my staff, we've made a commitment, rather than be consumed with running a play for a player, we got consumed with let's help these guys with their fundamentals. And that's what we've been trying to do, our footwork, our passing, understanding how to attack in space. And we've kind of changed how we play on offense. Back in early December, late November, we started changing. And our guys are growing. And I don't, anyone sits there and says, yeah, I knew we'd make 16 threes in a game, full of you know what. But I didn't expect us to be a poor shooting team. But I think we're we're understanding how to play better. And we got some kids with some courage, too.
Looking back over these last 2 games, huge shot to beat Kentucky, and then this game where you shoot 16 threes and you lead for 36 minutes of the game. What do you think has been the big turnaround for this team, and what do you think looking forward is going to be something that the team takes away from these last 2 games?
Yeah, I said this to our media after the Kentucky game, because the line of questioning was like, wow, when did everything change? I said, when did everything change? I mean, I don't know if our media was actually paying attention, but we beat Clemson at Clemson, and then we followed that up, beat Virginia at Virginia, and we scored 70 at Virginia, and we led the whole game. We basically led the whole game of Clemson. That's not easy to do. And, we had a stinker right after Christmas. Every team has a clunker of a game. And I don't like to harp on that because it's disrespectful to the school to beat us. But we had a stinker, but that's not the snapshot of who this team was becoming as we went into Christmas break. And we've regrouped, played better. I'm not going to sit here and say we should have beaten Tennessee. We didn't, but had a shot to beat them. And, Cousinart, who's our toughest guard. I mean, he is our toughest guard. When I mean tough, I don't mean like, let's go get in a fight tough. I mean, willing to understand game plan, to have the courage to go make plays. We didn't have him against Florida. We put up a fight, but we couldn't. We didn't fight well enough. So we just got to stay the course. And I like what this team. I like who this team is. I've liked them from day one. It's like raising a child. There's days that they don't make you very happy, but you don't quit being their dad. You got to keep fighting and teaching them and discipline them and support them so they understand that there's going to be another day and that you're in their corner. And that's what we're going through with our guys, and I respect the heck out of our players. They fight and they continue to grow. What's going to happen? What we got left? How many games we got left? I don't even know. 14. We're 2-2 in league play, right? 14. I got no idea. We might be 0-14. That's how difficult it is to win in this league. That's not going to change my opinion of the guys in our locker room.
Thanks, everybody.